Eben Eldridge, welcome to Not Real Art.
Hey.
All right, man.
I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
Good. Good to see you.
Right. Yeah, man.
You know, I'm taking a creative risk having you and only you on this particular episode of the show.
What does that mean?
Well, because, you know, you're here because you won the Not Real Art grant.
Yeah.
One of 12 recipients.
Right.
And we've sat down with other recipients, but they did not get the one-on-one
They didn't get the
love
slot.
that you are getting. So,
They didn't get
you
the
know, they had to
slot.
share the spotlight.
Yeah.
You get all the spotlight.
They could have had the slot. They could have.
You know, I guess
It's
if
all
you
good.
snooze, you lose. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, you were smart. You're like, no, I think I'll take that 3 o'clock.
It's like lottery.
Man, I tell you what, it's so great to sit down with you. I haven't seen you since March,
Right.
at the conference, and where we, handed out the grant to the winners.
Right.
What was that like for you, getting the grant?
It was a trip. I got
Hey, when you say trip, unpack that for us.
I got pulled over
Before or after?
on the
Were
way
you
there.
drunk?
On the way
Celebrating?
there. No,
Oh, okay.
on the way there I got pulled over. My car.
Way there.
On the way there, my car is illegal.
Okay.
And so it puts out smoke and
Okay.
fumes.
All right.
And,
Not so good for the.
Motorcycle cop pulled me over.
Okay.
And I was on the way to get the grant.
Is this your way of telling me that the $1,000 grant was used to pay court fees?
This is what I'm saying.
Oh,
that
okay.
At that point, I thought half of it's gone.
Right.
Half the
Right.
This is at least a $500 ticket. It's
Yeah.
at least.
Oh yeah,
at
for
least.
sure, for sure.
So he pulled me over and he gave me a warning.
Miracles do
I have
happen.
not received a warning in my life.
Let this be a warning.
Yeah. So I got the warning, and then he was behind my tailpipe,
Okay.
and I didn't want to start up my car because I knew smoke was gonna hit him like a cartoon.
Yeah.
So I kept waiting there, and I
Right.
thought if I wait here any longer, he's gonna think I'm like I'm hiding guns or drugs.
Right.
So literally, I hit the gas, and it just covered him. And then I just.
That's a great scene in a comedy.
It was total cartoon. I made like a right turn, a left turn, jumped out the car, ran in, and went to the conference.
And won a grant.
Yeah, I won a grant.
That was a good day for you.
It was a really good day.
You should have went out and played the lotto, like maybe
That's
next time.
you know what? That's in Buddhism, man. It says that it doesn't matter when 3 things happen. It's the energy.
Right.
So if 3 bad things happen to you, you stub your toe, you get a ticket, your wife, finds out about something. That's when you buy a lottery ticket.
That's okay. Oh, right, because you got to
It
break
doesn't
the cycle.
matter. It's just
Yeah.
The cat said it's just energy.
Right.
So use it.
Well, that was a beautiful day.
It was
a
a good
beautiful day
day.
for you. It was a beautiful day for me too. I mean, I got so much personal satisfaction, spiritual satisfaction out of granting, giving those grants away to those 12 artists. Yeah.
Well, the community aspect of it, because
Yeah.
you kind of create in these little bubbles, and then just to see the other grant winners,
Right.
we all went out afterwards, we talked to each other.
Yeah.
People that didn't win grants, who were great artists,
Right.
we talked to them, and I thought, man, we're coming out of our little bubbles here.
Right.
We're talking about collaborating in music and doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's like herding cats. I don't know.
Well, the thing about herding cats is you just have to give them a litter box or catnip, and they
Yeah.
come, right
Yeah.
away. Right, or food, basic
Yeah.
food. That'll gather the cats.
Yeah.
So in this case, energy, money, it's food, right?
Yeah.
The grant was meant to help empower the careers and practice of these artists. How did winning the grant help your practice? I mean, we had a joke earlier about one of the artists said he took the money and went to Vegas. And I hope they did, by the way.
Yeah.
What did you do with the money?
Well, it went into living expenses.
Yes.
It also, there's no such thing as a healthy starving artist. Okay, it's a myth.
Right.
It's a myth.
Oxymoron,
It's
yeah.
a myth.
Yeah, right.
So better that you eat some sushi and then try to go paint.
I hope you ordered the sake with it, because
Yeah.
I cannot have sushi without sake. I'm sorry. It's like vanilla ice cream and chocolate syrup.
I don't
They go
drink,
together.
but that's so. Yeah, I just got extra yellowtail.
So, I mean, your journey, as I understand it, your journey to your voice as an artist really came through your work with children, did it not?
Directly. I was working with an after-school program, and a little girl said, how come you never paint? Because I would make the kids go through these stations. They'd have to do math, they'd have to do their little English,
Sure.
and then they'd have to paint a little bit. And I I just made him go through the stations. And then one day this little girl said, how come you never paint?
Calling you out.
And so I started painting.
Right.
And I started liking them, and I started taking them home, the ones I liked that I made.
Sure.
And then the same little girl said, how come you never give us your art?
This little girl.
She was great.
We gotta have her on the show.
Yeah, she was great, you know. And so I said, well, the next one that you like that I paint, you can just have. And I painted a flamenco dancer, and it was really great, and I was so looking forward to keeping it for the rest of my life.
You loved it.
And she came over and said, I want that one. And when her mother came to pick her up, her mother said, she ran with the picture to her mother and said, look, Mom, I got this from Mr. E. And her mother said, she didn't even she looked at the painting, and she looked at her daughter, and she said, make him sign it.
Ooh.
And so I was like,
yeah.
I never,
Yeah.
And at that point I said, maybe I can let this art go out in the world, It's like.
So you and this girl have a special bond.
She was great.
Yeah.
She,
How many years ago was this?
Oh, at least 15.
Oh, okay, so she's like,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah, but
an
she
adult
was,
now.
she had issues.
We all have issues.
Yeah, but we had some of the same issues.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot from watching her grow up.
So when you started painting with the kids,
Yeah, that was the beginning.
do you remember the first painting you made?
I know I made that flamenco dancer, and then
That was the first one you really loved.
Well, that first one I loved. I would make
okay.
these kind of little abstract characters, just kind of really free form,
Okay, yes, yeah.
And it was just, and I would just like the shapes, and I would just like, they were kind of characters. They weren't definitely faces or anything, but they had movement.
Okay.
They had some,
Yeah.
and some relationship to different movements, and I liked it. And I that was my little, that was my language. That was the first language I made art in.
Well, where do you think that energy and that movement came from?
I think it just, I think it was in the hand,
Yeah,
just
but I mean, you talk a lot about your relationship with the muse, you
Yeah.
know, so I mean, ultimately,
Music.
it came from the muse, right?
Yeah, it came from her, no doubt, no doubt. I am definitively about that connection. I mean, that is, I think, what a true poet is.
Do you think of yourself as a poet?
That's what everybody's, anybody doing anything is a poet. Anybody doing anything at root is in the poetic element. So I don't care if you're acting, I don't care if you're.
So you think of yourself as a poet first, artist second, or?
No, a poet is an artist.
Okay, same, one and the same, two sides of the same.
Yeah,
coin.
I mean,
Got it.
but poet, it's that relationship
Yeah.
and that ability to,
Right. Well, but when I was, preparing for this, I read your interview, and you were talking about one of the greatest things about being an artist is your relationship with the muse.
Yeah. No, it's you have to learn to be. You ever read The Outsider by Colin Wilson?
I have not.
It's a book about that relationship and how some artists will blow you up. Some artists get blown up by their relationship with the muse, and some artists find a way to be in relationship to it.
Yes.
In a healthy way. The
Yes.
best I can describe is like, who did I see? I saw Big Joe Turner's last 10 performances.
Okay.
Okay? Wheeled on stage by a prostitute. Absolutely decrepit. Microphone in his crook of his arm, they put it in there. And then he's like this in the wheelchair. And then the band hit dun 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 dun. And that man, like a spike went through his whole system.
Yeah.
That's the muse. And
Yeah.
he sat up and said, I'm a man.
Yeah.
I'm a man. And the power. And when the last note he shrunk back into himself. That's how powerful the muse is. That's how powerful his relationship with what gives him. That's how powerful it is.
Yes.
That it's bigger than drugs. The thing about being in a relationship with that is, how do you come down? How do you do reentry?
Right.
Can I curse?
Hell yeah.
Reentry is a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So how do I come back from painting all night?
Right.
I mean, all these artists that are dead could not do laundry after coming off stage. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, all them.
Right.
Would you rather, you've just been with God.
Yeah.
You've just been at the highest level of communion
Well,
And
it's
now-
space travel too, right? I mean, how do you fucking re-enter the Earth's orbit?
Right.
Yeah.
It takes me like 3 days to come down, but I don't use anything to come down.
Right.
But I know that it's going to be a journey to come back into my skin, and I try to enjoy it to the best of my ability.
Yes.
Because I'd like to art, I'd like to be, Georgia O'Keeffe it,
Yeah.
be 95. I like to William Blake it.
Yeah.
Those are some artists that manage to have that relationship with the muse and know how to do reentry and not destroy themselves.
So talk about your evolution in terms of your relationship with the muse. I mean, how is it different today than it was early on?
It ain't much different.
No, but I mean, have you become, like with any relationship, right? You become more emotionally intelligent around the dynamic that you have.
All right,
between
all right, here's the dynamic. All right, so now, instead of walking into my house with my backpack on and picking up the oil pastel, hungry and lonely and tired and stressed out, and I pick up that oil pastel and I'm still got the backpack on, I still haven't eaten, and 12 hours later, I'm still painting.
With the backpack
With the backpack on. Now I take off the backpack, I cook some food, because I know she's gonna take me, regardless.
Yeah.
So this time I get ready, I fuel up.
Right.
I eat for her. I eat dinner for her so she can have all that food.
Yeah, you don't want to be cranky for the lady.
You don't want to be cranky for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you have that moment in time with your art, and then you can actually enjoy reentry because now you have art eyes. For like the next 2 days, you look at a tree or a brick and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Look at the angles of that face. You have those art eyes that are beautiful to have.
Yes. Well, and I've found in my personal experience that, the muse comes when she comes, right? And I think that's your point, right? You're talking about coming home, you're supposed to put your backpack down and cook some food. No, she comes and suddenly you're locked in her embrace, right? And I've noticed that she comes, when she comes, I can't control it. And it's a little dysfunctional.
It is. It is a little dysfunctional.
Yeah.
It is.
But I love it.
Yeah, but she's going to be there. I mean, you don't have to.
But I once heard, so I don't know if you saw Q, the documentary with Quincy Jones, right? But he has that whole bit about Harry Mancini used to say, when the muse comes, you better be ready because if you don't take what she has, she's going down the street, to the next, to the competitor.
Yeah, but
right?
I'll push back on that.
Okay.
My dad says, and he made a case for this the other night. He said, people think that we're all inspired. He writes.
Yes.
That we're all like, oh, the inspiration came and then I created. He said, it's a faucet.
It's a faucet.
It's a faucet. You turn it on. I don't really need to start any project inspired.
Right.
I don't have to be
Well,
inspired.
isn't that the hallmark of a true professional?
But
I
I'm
mean,
saying-
you just get to fucking work.
As soon as you pick up the thing, she's like, I'm here.
Right,
That's
right.
her superpower, right?
You gave her permission.
That's her power. That's her
Yeah.
superpower. You don't have to be like, I think I understand what I want to create today. No, you don't need. A lot of people think they need all that to be an artist, and you don't need it.
Well, I think Chuck Close, didn't he say inspiration is for amateurs? Like,
Well, that's radical.
right? It's interesting, right? I mean, because it feels like pros. I mean, if you're a pro and you have that level of rigor and discipline, you get to work. And, understanding that a lot of the stuff might be crap, but you got to work through the crap to get to the
Well,
get to
that's
the
what
goal.
keeps regular people. I shouldn't say that like that, but that's what keeps people from doing art.
Yeah.
Is because when you create mud, the self-esteem and the pain of mud is just too much. It's painful to create something and work on it.
But that gets to, and I agree with you. I mean, it gets to unrealistic expectations, right? I mean, we live in a world of unrealistic expectations. And the expectation is that, oh, well, I'm not an artist because I'm making mud. No,
Right.
You're an artist because you're making mud,
Well, that's
right?
But that's an intellect. That's all I can say is that it's kind of intellectual. Like a friend of mine, I finally convinced her to paint.
Okay.
Right? I said, you should paint. She collected art. She bought one of my pieces. I tried to buy it back.
She
from
loves
her.
art.
I tried to buy it back from her. She wouldn't sell it to me.
Right.
She loves art, and she was gonna go paint a picture. And she's like, I said, go to the art store. Go to, she's like, what do I do? She got to the art store. She's calling me. I said, let the colors call you in.
Sure.
She found some colors. She painted this little tiny landscape. She loved it.
Yeah.
She loved it. She put it up on her mantle next to all the art she's bought. All her art collecting friends wanted to know who did that painting.
Right.
The next time she created, she made mud. She's never picked up a brush since.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Because
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
But I told her, you have to.
Gotta
I said,
keep going.
There's a point in everything I create where it's mud.
Yeah.
Because, I'll just speak plainly. I don't have the chops. Like my friend Mark, who's passed away, once he conceived an art piece, his chops were so good that the creation part wasn't a big deal for him.
Yeah.
The thinking part,
Right.
the inspiration was his big moment.
Right.
But after that, he was like, he could do it.
Yeah.
Me, I got to be in there all the way. I don't have a. I can ruin it. I can turn pancakes into fucking.
In a world of 10,000 hours, you're at like 8,000 hours.
Yeah, I can turn pancakes into the trash can at any point. They get they're burnt.
Yeah, right.
Oh man,
Yeah, but there's some hungry people out there that eat that shit.
If you'd have just turned them when the bubbles came up, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so
but the phone rang.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. How to why people don't.
No, but
create.
I mean, look, we have a system that kids, you work with kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you ask your kids who here is an artist, every kid raises their hand.
Right.
By fifth grade, like maybe one kid is still hanging in there. I mean,
Right, yeah.
it feels like we've created a system and a culture that maybe doesn't value art quite as much as we value science or
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, people they back out of it. It happens in all kinds of areas of life. Like they stop roller skating. They stop being able to fall. They're afraid to fall now. They become adults and they can't fall.
I'll break a hip if I fall.
Right. But that's a shame, because I don't want to lose run fast, jump high.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that connection to just, I'm gonna make paintings anyway, rain or shine, good or bad, grant or no.
Right.
Like the grant is like, like you said, it's that makes it like a half penny per quarter second. That's what it.
So I want to take 3 steps back. How did you become a teacher? Like, what led you? Because I think it's, I say you're doing God's work? What, or God, the God work of the goddess, or the gods.
God, goddess, all that is, Alan Watts.
How, I got 2 kids, 7 and 2.5. How you manage 14 of them?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
How did you become a teacher?
I became a teacher. I was working in animation, decided to move to Seattle to be in a band. That's the dream.
Yeah, right. Seattle.
I get there, and a good friend of mine, a good mentor of mine said, I think you need to get a job. And at the time, I had money.
Get a job,
And he
man.
said, your life seems to work better when you have a job. And
an anchor.
Yeah, so I became the recess monitor at a school. All I did was, I was like, this is it.
Got a job.
I got a job. And I was recess monitor. I did morning recess and lunch recess. And I was back out on the street having fun by 1 o'clock. It was great.
Yeah.
There was autistic and Down syndrome kids at this school. When they came out to play, they were put into a corner of the schoolyard.
Oh, shit.
This is how they did it. And separated from all the other kids.
Yeah.
I created, and I was the assistant recess monitor. There was a head recess monitor. You got to start at the bottom. I didn't mind. I didn't want the responsibility. And he basically was an older gentleman who sat in a chair while I ran around and played with the kids.
Right.
It was the system and he didn't do any. And I said, I don't want any excluding. So I said, these kids can play kickball. They can join in. And the kids would say to me, how are they going to play kickball? I said, you're going to run with him to first base.
Yep.
After he kicks it, and then when the outfield, he's gonna stand next to you. He's on your team. And there's no more excluding. And the principal, after about a month of this, came out and saw that all the kids, he saw the playground, he saw all the kids, the Down syndrome, and playing in all the games and being in every area. And he said, I heard that you did this. And I said, well, there should be no excluding. And he said, how would you like to work with special needs kids? And I said, no way, I'm a recess monitor.
Assistant.
Recess
monitor.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
But he convinced me, and I started working with Down syndrome kids, autistic kids, Fragile X kids.
Where did that wisdom come from? That emotional intelligence, that situational awareness?
I don't know. It just seemed, I kind of got the emotional intelligence around it later, right?
Yeah.
So later I started working with autistic kids. I can say his name, a little kid named Yusef, and the lead teacher in the room explained to me that autistic kids, they have their own world.
Yeah.
You're not here to fix them. We're not trying to.
Right. It's a parallel universe.
Because Yusef could sit there like this, and he could feel a shadow go across his face with joy. He'd be like, if a shadow of a car went across his face, he'd be like, or he'd take a bite of a pear and he would go, oh, like you had given him nirvana. He would be one bite of pear and he'd be rolling on the floor.
But we can learn a lot from that, can't we?
Yeah, look at his level. But also, if he had a pebble in his shoe, he might bang his head against that wall.
Right.
So they have these extremes, and they have to learn to navigate their paradigm. And I realized, you have a little autism in you. You're part.
My wife says I got a lot.
Yeah, you have some. I've got some Fragile X. We all got a little bit of it. Our OCD is all how it is. But I learned that, wow, they have their own world. My job is to help him navigate his own world.
Yeah.
And communicate.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I think I was trying to communicate with
it speaks to empathy on a certain level. I mean, a very acute sense of empathy, which, is very you're an artist, right? I'm not surprised that you're demonstrating empathy.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It kind of just came out, you know, but then I started working with the kids.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
I was like in my late 30s.
Yeah.
I was like 30 something, and that was the first, and it was great because I remember a black principal, when I told him I was struggling with the job after about 6 months, just exhausted.
Yeah.
And he said, well, there's only room for one childhood, theirs, so you need to work out your stuff.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. It's about you.
It's about you. And I remember that same little girl that asked me to make art. She was crying one day underneath the table. And so instead of me making her get up, making her come back to the table, I got under the table and I said, why are you crying? And she said, I don't know. And that's when I realized I had tears that I didn't know where they came from.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is, I need to work on my stuff.
Sounds like these kids give you more than you give them, my friend.
Well, don't yours?
Exactly.
You got a couple, right?
Yeah, I do. So going back 3 steps, you were in animation.
Yeah, 7 years.
Yeah, what were you doing in animation?
Inspector Gadget, Wish Kid, what else? Pink Panther, Felix the Cat for MGM, the second Felix, not the first Felix the Cat, obviously I wasn't alive, but the second Felix the Cat, which was one of the only...
You could be the Highlander, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, which was one of the only funny cartoons I worked on. But yeah, I did that for 7 years. I worked my way up from driver to production coordinator, tried to get into the creative end of it, never could. Never could break that into that. Some friends of mine
Was
did.
that just sort of a lack of skill set, or was that politics?
I came up with content. I mean, I wanted to do a cartoon about Merlin. I wanted to do. Me and my dad tried to write something once about Merlin the magician, and young Merlin we called it.
Right.
Because we wanted to tell a different story of manhood, and how you know the story of Merlin, right?
It's been a minute, but yeah.
And he went out and worked with people who had depression. You know what happened?
Maybe I don't know the story. Enlighten me.
He went to a wedding. He killed his sister's fiance at the wedding.
So this is the actor in real life?
No, this is the real life Merlin the magician.
Right.
This is what he did.
Wow. Okay.
So
Went a little mad.
He effed up, and
Black magic,
and
apparently.
they banished him to the forest. In the forest, he found all these people that had been banished and were depressed, and he started working with them.
Okay.
And he built himself back up. And when he came back to court, he was like the first he was kind of like a mental health professional at that point.
Right. Sure.
He worked on his stuff. So we were going to give a different road.
Yeah.
We weren't going to tell that story.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
not in cartoons. You know, open. That'd be more like
You gotta, fuck them up one way or another.
Yeah. So I couldn't get in. I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And it was a little old boy network about how to become a writer in that field.
Yeah.
A couple of my friends made it through the gauntlet.
Okay.
And then that's when I decided, oh wow, I want to. And at that point, I wasn't making any art.
Okay. Well, no, but you were. You were a musician.
I was a musician. I was playing.
What instruments do you play?
I sing. I play a little bit of guitar, enough to write with. I was in a band called Hungarian Music Lesson, and we played. We played downtown. We played Al's Bar right over here.
Yeah.
Numerous times.
Yeah.
Which is a great gig. One of the, and we were.
Hungarian Music Lesson.
We were punk. We used to say, the chicken came first. We had our own mottos.
Are you playing now?
Yeah, I do. I still do music.
Yeah.
I still do
so
music.
So you're in a band or no?
Technically, I am Black Spring. But I played a couple shows recently. Yeah.
Right.
I'm still making music. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You can.
Well, one of the things that's so great about your story is that it feels like you are and have been a part of so many different communities, whether it was, whether it's the school or the music scene or your work in production or your work as an artist. That seems really unique and special on so many levels. So many artists, I think, work in their silos. They work in their bubble. They don't have community.
Yeah. But I'm still looking for community.
Yeah.
Still, I feel isolated and bubbled out
How
sometimes.
so?
It's just home, work, video.
Video.
Watch. Handmaid's Tale, go to bed, rinse, wash, repeat.
Right, sure.
And then force yourself to pick up the pastel or force yourself to play 3 songs on your guitar. Break yourself out of isolation. Go somewhere you don't want to go. Make yourself go meditate in a cave. Are you
a goal-oriented person? Will you, like in 2020, will you say to yourself, this is my goal for the year?
Projects take me. I'm going to make stuff.
Yeah.
I like taking things out of the ethos and out of the universe and making stuff so that I think my projects are just as important. I have an album on the shelf right now.
You do?
Completely on the shelf. It's done.
Okay.
But I can't get to it because I kind of have to do teeth, eyes, and car.
Okay,
I had to,
right,
I had to get rid of that car, get another car.
Yeah, but that's what SoundCloud's for. You just upload it to SoundCloud and all the kids will download it and you'll get discovered.
The first Black Spring album is on SoundCloud.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
But that's the journey is it. You can't get discovered. It's not, you better discover yourself. You better discover.
Dropping knowledge right there. I love it.
You better discover that was the gift.
Yeah.
That song was for you.
But so many of us are looking for validation outside of ourselves, man.
Yeah, but I'm not saying I'm not. But I'm also trying to recognize that validation won't save me. It won't save,
Yes.
This art show that's coming up won't save me. I realize that about.
I'm glad you know that because I've had to tell everybody. This art show will not save you, right?
You need to put it up on the
I am
wall.
not responsible for your salvation.
It's really tough to think, oh, well, there's going to be a hot chick that walks by my art. I'll be standing there,
Yeah.
Or there's going to be somebody who wants. No, you got to remember that journey, that creative moment you had, that gestation period where you came home with the backpack on and you drew a little bit and that painting happened, that was your gift. You got your gift.
Yep.
You were provided. Now, if any money comes from that, that's called gravy.
Well, this is what I've been saying.
But gravy's not the meal.
The compensation, if you will, comes from the process. Like if you're not enjoying the process, then it is work, and maybe you should quit.
Well, then half your friends are going to walk by your art and go get some free hummus. Half the people are going to.
Right.
And so if you think that that moment is where the crux of your creativity has to meet validation, you're going to be. But what may happen is, like last time I had an art show here it was my mom who looked at she's seen some of my work over the years.
Yeah, right.
She gave me a series. She said, this is in line with this last. My mother gave me a great art critique, and I'm grateful to her for taking me she loves museums. So I'm grateful for that exposure. I think that's an important thing, to expose people. So some people that will come to the art show, I think that's the great thing too. That's more community. Finally, I'm handing out, flyers with the Buddha on them to people. Yeah. Because that's part of this art show. Is that I got some Buddhas and I'm showing the Pure Land, and I'm handing Buddhas to people. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, I'm handing the Buddha out. It's like I'm flyering for the Buddha.
Flyering for the Buddha.
It's really cool. It's really, I still have the ticket stub when I saw the Dalai Lama, because I thought it was like this is like some kind of weird transmorgation where, Jesus playing the MGM for 7 nights. Here's the Dalai Lama, and I've got a ticket stub for him. Yeah. It just felt very
surreal.
But also that all these things are still here. Yeah. These things that we think that are super spiritual, super life-changing, they're right here. And you can go see them and you can have access. The Dalai Lama's oracle, which is a whole lineage of reincarnation. They have that, wherever the Dalai Lama reincarnates, the oracle reincarnates with his whole lineage of people, because they advise the Dalai Lama. So they've been traveling in each incarnation together, right? Think of it like that. The Dalai Lama's oracle was at a freaking yoga studio in Santa Monica. I looked it up. When the Dalai Lama oracle speaks in India, 30,000 people climb a mountain to hear him and to get the blessing that he gives every 7 years. Well, one night in Santa Monica, there were like 75 people at a yoga studio. I'm like, it's here. And it was fully there. The guys with the horns were there. He came with the ruckus. Yeah. He was not fucking around.
Yeah, man, but we've got shopping to do.
But just the fact that I was like, wow. Yeah. It's still here. Right. These things aren't ancient. Right. So I just like the idea of you kind of have to break out of yourself and go, what do I want to do tonight? Do I want to see, yes, I can watch all of The Handmaid's Tale, and it's great. Or I could go see the Dalai Lama's oracle and get the 7-year blessing, and I could still binge watch.
Yeah, because it'll be there when you get back.
It'll be there when you get back. Yeah. But he's coming through only every 7 years. Right, right. I just love the fact that this stuff exists in the here and now.
Yes. If you're open to it, if you make time for it, if you have the awareness of it and take action, right? Yeah. That's the thing. I think a lot of times, unfortunately, people, they want it to come to them versus going out and fighting for it, seeking it, which is, taking responsibility for your own life, isn't it? Yeah. So where do you get your artistry from? Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa?
Dad wrote. Yeah. Mom, deeply into books. They both read in front of me. I think that's a key,
Sort of just, they obviously probably read to you as a child, but then they're reading books in front of you as you're hanging out.
At dinner, when we would have it together before the divorce happened and stuff, and TV dinners happened, what book you were reading had some importance at the table. Yeah. And I really believe, I created this statement, no reflection, no investment. So if it's not reflected at you, you don't invest in it. So I'm invested in reading. Right. I have an investment. I studied the dictionary so I could play Scrabble better. Yeah. That gave me words. That led into so when poetry happened, I had some words. I also had done a lot of reading. And so I think that's important, how you reflect that.
Yes, yes.
You got books for your kids?
Oh, yes, the kids, yes, of course. My kids read the serious stuff. I have pop-up books. Yes, books are a big part. But what you're getting at is so powerful, right? Because kids are a sponge. Yeah. And they soak in whatever it is that's around them. And, you know, I'm grateful that our kids are surrounded by culture and art and literature and, you know, any number of sort of, shall we say, intellectual pursuits.
That's huge.
It turns out my daughter, you know, she loves to dance right now. She's an art kid, you know, dance, writing, music, singing. But I think she's going to be a stand-up comic.
Okay.
She is legitimately funny, and not only just with the perspective and the language, but with the physical humor too. Like, and her timing is fantastic. Anyway.
Yeah. No. A 4-year-old hit me with the why did the chicken cross the road joke. So asked me that. Why did the chicken?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
Eyeball.
Eyeball.
It's a brilliant.
Yeah, I love it. So for sound check, we were impressed with some poetry. I think it was that you were reciting.
Yeah.
You drop a poem for us right now if you can.
Well, the one Afrocentric corporate interest. What is slavery? Hate me just because I got gold and emerald rings? Well, fuck you then. I'm breezing to retirement, taking family and friends. By definition, an amount of money sufficient for some purpose. Revolution, son. Who pays for the truck, the ammo, and the guns? I'm the one. Takes faith and discipline. 6 months ago, I asked for tracks, but what happened, Pruitt? Nothing. You screwed it, pumping jism into candy-ass women. From the beginning, I was making tracks, pushing them, crushing them. Even when I was suffering, I was still hustling. Night to dawn, ugly duck to black swan. I kept on till I got on. With rage blind, I engage. That's my Scorsese. I turn tricks with wicked spit. Utterly subversive is my intent. Backpack consciousness, you need to understand that. Malcolm X said that power backs down only in the face of power. Drop the beat, cash the check. That's the ghetto American Express. No sauce like hunger. There's no sauce like hunger.
Fuck yeah, man.
I screwed it up. But
that's amazing.
But I got that from my grandmother. My grandmother used to say, there's no sauce like hunger. That's the truth of the depth of where I come from in artistry.
Yeah.
There's no sauce like, because if you have the hunger, there's no sauce like that.
Yeah, right.
You know? She said it in terms of we were all at a restaurant. I apply it to everything now. But we were at a restaurant with my family, and we were hungry, and so we ate. And we thought this was the greatest Italian restaurant ever. And my grandma was like, this ain't the best. No sauce like hunger, you know? But then I take that in a different way. Like, you can't ever take that from me, you know? I got that hunger. And I don't know, you know, I still got it. Well,
some have said that if you know hunger, you never forget it.
Yeah.
Right? Tony Louis, who is one of the other grant winners, is from Haiti. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when we sat down with him, we were talking about, you know, his reality living in Haiti and I believe Port-au-Prince. And, you know, Haiti's basically a war zone right now. I mean, you know, the political circumstances. I mean, there's no North Star. I mean, there's, you know, it's like civil war almost right now. And we were just talking about that within context of, you know, we don't know how good we have it, right? Yeah. And that hunger that you're talking about is relative, right? And I was just appreciating his struggle, you know, for his art in a situation that is, you know, quite desperate.
Right.
You know, your grandmother, with that saying, I mean, what was her reality like?
For my grandmother?
Yeah, to come up with that statement.
Well, that's coming from always probably from her. I mean, that's passed on.
Yeah.
You know, that's like from slavery. That's like, we have some things in our family that are just simply passed on. They're like little sayings that get passed on. I took that one and ran with it.
Yeah.
But she had she killed her. She had my mother and her, you know, killed chickens and sold them in the streets of Philly, you know, to make ends meet.
Yeah.
You know, so she had, and my grandmother was fierce in a lot of ways. She wasn't this grandmother wasn't the cuddly one. You know, she was.
Your mom's
my
mom?
mom's mom was embittered.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. You know, I get it when you become, I get it how you can become embittered.
Yeah, sure.
And parts of you get shut down and parts of you collapse inward. And it's hard for you to be supportive, to play this role, even that role. Everyone thinks that all black grandmothers, are big roly-poly and love. It doesn't work out that way. But she was still my grandmother, and she still had wisdom. Because you don't make it this far in the black world without
but the roly-poly stereotype you just mentioned, I mean, that's a racist stereotype,
Yeah,
right?
it's a racial stereotype.
Yeah, I mean, like when you think about what do I know as a white guy, but I mean, in terms of the adversity that our African-American brothers and sisters have endured from day one, like, you toughen up or you're dead, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you learn things to wash off like let it wash off your back like a duck. But you make your I mean, that's why I think punk rock was important for me to look at life through that lens and to come to my own conclusions about, that's where I learned about anarchy. That's where I learned about Emma Goldman was through the punk ethos. That really influenced me to come to politics and political things through your own lens and through the own lens of your reality, to start acting on your own life. That's what punk rock gave me. And I still consider myself punk. From the core, Right. I mean, I've been to Dead Kennedy shows. I've been to Minutemen shows. I'm not a looky-loo punk.
You're not a fair weather punk.
I'm not fair weather. but the core of that thing was do it yourself.
Yeah.
And get your own viewpoint. Read, get your own viewpoint.
Right.
Talk, hear other viewpoints. Forge your viewpoint based upon things you're hearing and knowing, and express that. That's punk. Nina Simone, I saw Nina Simone perform. That was probably the most punk performances I've ever seen in my life. Nina Simone was punk as fuck.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself punk necessarily, but I mean, anti-establishment, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
She was anti-establishment. She was out there she's out there on the ledge of powerful femininity, and at times she's powerful, and then sometimes she's just crushed out by it. So that I really relate to.
Right. Right.
I really relate to.
Well, the hypocrisy, right? I mean, the anger that comes from understanding that you are a part of a hypocritical system, right?
Yeah.
That talks about, aspirational things like power to the people and what have you, but then to realize that, of course, the deck's stacked against you. Yeah. I mean, fuck yeah, you're going to rebel.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough. And yet she was, that Seattle concert, she was just so powerful. And she was still emoting from that core muse place. She still had to go there.
Yeah.
She was still going there.
Right.
And that's part of the tether that kept her on the planet, as long as it kept her on the planet.
Yeah, what was she, 90? How old was she when she...
I don't know, but she
lived
a
long life.
Yeah, she came to some, I mean, she should go in that pantheon. Mm-hmm. William Blake, Nina Simone. She's in that pantheon of artists. You could say, oh, she had mental illness. Yes. She had, bouts of anger and depression. Yes. But she kept working to integrate herself into herself and to be able to navigate the paradigm of post-traumatic black syndrome or whatever the fuck we got. We all have a certain level of PTSD, I think.
Well, and according to your interview, you have a certain amount of OCD as well.
Oh yeah, I'm a professional. Yeah.
You're a pro?
But I got it. I mean, I think we all have some. It's how you turn that OCD, what you turn it into. I mean, you have it.
Yeah, I know. My wife has it. You know, you open. Here's the essential difference between my wife and I. Like she's the kind of person that when we go on a trip, she says, "Hey, we're going on a trip. Dump the milk."
Okay.
And I'm the kind of person that goes, "Hey, we just got back from a trip. Oh, the milk's spoiled. Let's dump it."
Same difference. Yeah.
Yeah. To each their own. We have a show coming up Saturday night.
Yes.
You and I and the other grant winners.
Yeah, we're all here. Yeah.
It's the Not Real Art exhibition. You've
excited.
got how many pieces in the show?
4 pieces.
4 pieces.
Yeah.
Tell me about the pieces.
I'm showing the Pure Land, which is it's a Buddha I painted in Vancouver, and then I took some flowers that I cut out from a. This is what happens to your children's drawings, by the way. At the school where your children go, at the end of the year, the art teacher, all the art that you don't pick up goes into a big trash bin. And this art teacher was throwing away all the art at the end of the year, and I saw these flowers that these kids had painted, and so I put the flowers in the Buddha's lap. I cut them out.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's the lotus blossom in that Buddha. And then I painted a landscape that gave me, so I thought that's the Pure Land.
Yeah.
Even though conceptually, the Pure Land is a concept. So what you're looking at, my paintings doesn't really exist, but it's, that whole thing about the finger pointing towards the moon.
Well, it's where we wish we lived. Right?
Yeah. And then I'm flying for the Buddha, and I'm bringing in Cold Mountain and Kuan Yin. Cold Mountain is a ancient Chinese poet who was very vulnerable. Gary Snyder of the Beats found his poetry. He wrote 300 poems on rocks and trees.
Okay.
They were collected after he died. He had a friend named Shai. They hung out together. They became immortal. They're like bodhisattvas now. Like if you're in a hobo camp and you run into 2 cats and they kind of beguile you with wisdom and stuff, it might be them.
Might be them, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
it could be them.
You never know who you're meeting.
Yeah, so his poems are super, and I really related to Gary Snyder, the poet, was one of the first poets to translate from a poetic standpoint. There was academic translations, but when a poet learned Chinese and a poet translated it, you really saw the depth of his pain. And sometimes he was really lonely out in those mountains, and he expressed that loneliness. And so it was very easy to relate to him. And so a picture of Cold Mountain and Kuan Yin, you know about Kuan Yin? Kuan Yin was originally a male deity in India. But when the deity got to China, the deity decided to change sexes and is now worshipped as a female.
Okay.
So one of the first transgendered, and it's about compassion and empathy.
Yep.
Kuan Yin, it represents those things. And I've always just had an affinity for that aspect of compassion.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the hardest things is to have empathy and compassion,
Yeah, man.
We
need more of it.
It is one of the most, so that's what I feel like. I'm just bringing deities out.
Yeah.
But from, it's almost like a little kid painted them, but I did my best.
Some would say, you can't get more pure than a child's painting.
Yeah,
so.
These were kind of, these were more made than painted. I kind of excavated them. Like, I don't know how I got the figure to look like a figure or why it looks like that. As my friend Dean says, you can't paint it again. That's what's good about it.
Right.
Then you can't make 37 of them, Eben.
Right, no, right.
You can't do it.
Right.
It's not. You couldn't go to a canvas and draw 37 cold mountains.
No.
You're not going to do that.
No.
So I like the idea of bringing, like what we talked about, this thing that exists now to show it, to say it exists now and look into it.
Yes.
Open your eyes, look into some of these, like in the transgender community, a lot of transgender people know about Kuan Yin and know about that journey.
Oh, I bet.
And it's like this God decided to change sexes.
Yeah.
Nobody had a problem with it.
But aren't there arguments to be made that gods would actually represent both sexes simultaneously?
Yes. That's what's beautiful about that these things exist. Like, you could say that, even if you say that man made that entity, why did they make an entity that changed sexes? So they could have a reflection that they could invest in. Yeah. So they could understand the world of people who are making those kinds of choices. So let's deify that choice.
Right.
That's really helpful if you deify a choice.
Yeah, well, it's worked for a long time.
But really give like freedom to those. So I'm bringing them in.
Yeah,
I'm bringing them in.
That's
I'm
great,
excited.
Man. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, they're really going to be here.
I can't wait to. Yeah, that's going to be great. That's great. Well, Eben Eldridge, I am honored to know you, to call you a Not Real Art Grant recipient, a guest of the show, and a new friend. Thanks for coming through, brother.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Always. Anytime.
Cheers.
All right.